Welcome to the Mindset by Design podcast with your host, the expert Andy Murphy, where you will learn the tips, tricks, and strategies he teaches his world-class clients to give you the skills to dominate any business.
What's going on, Mindset by Design crew, and welcome to episode 337. Hope you're amazing as always, and do you know what? I probably should start off with a Happy New Year. I don't know whether you're listening to this in the past, in 2021, or you're with us in the future of 2022. But either way, do you know what? Life's an interesting ride, and I have no idea what I was going to talk about today. I've got lots of different clips set up that I can play, but we'll see where this goes. I might just go on a rant for a few minutes, and we'll keep it short. Who knows? Who knows? But what I do know is that I'm really happy you're here. And you should be too. I'm really happy that you survived. You know what I mean? You got here. Lots of people didn't. It's been the wildest year probably ever in my life and your life. And do you know what? I thought we were going to be over the chaos. I really did. And then you got the Omicron virus popped up, and that's messing. Well, lots of people are catching it. I don't know if it's messing them up too much, but it's a lot of people are catching it. So hopefully you're staying safe is the main thing. But do you know what? It's like we have to reflect. We have to look at the world and your life from very differently. You know what I mean? We've got to look at it from two different perspectives. You've got one perspective where the whole world's in chaos. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's obsessed with social media. News is being passed around like just wildfire. Everyone's freaking out. Everyone's taking teams and sides, and it's just wild, man, right? But then we've got another side. There's been 30 new billionaires from cryptocurrency appeared in the past 18 months. Think about that. 30 new billionaires, right? It's crazy. Kids are making, and I use kids because I'm old now, kids are making millions and millions and millions of dollars on things that didn't exist a year ago. What, NFTs and all of this rest of it, right? Crypto's still doing its thing, right? It's still going to be the most dominant currency in the world at some point, right? We're just at the very beginning. It's wild, right? So you have all of this one contrast of doom and gloom, and you have the other contrast of like it's a new generation blossoming into the world. And then you've got your world. And what's going on in your world? Are you happy? Are you looking back on the year with regret? Are you looking back on the year and going, do you know what, I kicked ass? Are you looking back on the year and going, well, do you know what, I'm proud of myself. I got through a lot of things this year. I'm proud of myself. What's going through your head? Because understand, right, that the human mind is holographic. It doesn't understand what appears in its imagination, what appears outside, or what it sees on TV. It's all creating the same synapse connections to light up, the same neurology to fire, the same emotions to become, right? So that's why we can watch a horror film and feel scared. That's why we can watch a sad film and cry. That's why we can watch a comedy and be happy. Your brain doesn't really understand the difference. So when we start to understand this, to me, the people who are going to really survive, and not more than survive, they're going to thrive, they're going to kick ass, right? They're going to do all the things that they want to do. They're going to create the dreams. They've still got freedom. You get the idea, right? I don't know which side of the coin you're on, or maybe there's three coins there. Do you know what I mean? Or three sides of a coin? Pyramid coin. But at the end of the day, your reality is yours to create. So look at it this way. If there was no social media, there was no news, there was nothing like that that's communicating with you that the world is in chaos, then how would your world be? Seriously, ask yourself, how would your world be? Would you have still done nothing? Or would you have still created everything that you want? You know? Think about this. This is your choice. So the brain replicates whatever it is around the most. Okay? The brain replicates whatever it is around the most. That's how we human species have evolved. That's how we've survived. That's how we become a dominant species. It's because genetically, environmentally, and neurologically, we adapt, we change. That's what the brain and body wants to do. It wants to adapt. So if we understand, right, that there's different worlds playing, your world is very unique. You can create it by the imagery or whatever is put into it. And what I mean by the movies, the audiobooks, the websites, you get the idea, right? Everything that you immerse your brain in, your brain and body or biology starts to adapt. Does that make sense? If your brain and body adapt to whatever it sees or experiences the most, then shouldn't we be damn careful of what we're putting in it? Does this make sense? It's something called a mirror neuron. A mirror neuron what replicates whatever it is around the most. And so when we start to look at this concept, it's people don't understand this, right? So if the world that you're seeing is represented by what is internally programmed, then your experience of this chaos becomes your choice. Now, I'm not saying the virus isn't real. It's very, very real. Now, you've got so many people being affected in so many different ways, right? You've got catastrophic things happening to people, which is so, so horrible. It's so, so horrible. And then you've got people who barely get a cold. Right? I have no answers to that. I don't think anyone has answers to that. But my point is, the chaos, the darkness, the wildness of the ride is the world, I should say, which is a ride, is uncontrollable. We cannot control those things. We cannot control anything that's externally outside of us. We can't. Right? So if you got hit by a car, we're going to delete that because it's not going to happen. So imagine it doesn't happen. But if you did happen and then how you experience that injury becomes your choice. You could let that destroy your whole life, or you can just accept it and move through whatever is put in front of you to recover and be happy and healthy. Now, that was a real crazy example, but it's an example. It's an extreme example. What we need to understand is this, okay? Who you become and how you feel is your experience of the world. Does this make sense? I hope you understand this, because this is so important that you understand. What you feel becomes your experience of the world. Okay? So there's so many people out there saying, you fuck your feelings, all of these things, and it's the opposite of what I think. Do you know what I mean? We need to be in control of our feelings. We need to manage our feelings. We need to understand what's triggering them, what pattern they're connected to, how they're making us react or act. The emotions are like the most important thing. Now, if you were to talk to computer programmers, they might not think that, right? But when we're dealing with life and high performance, it's absolutely the truth. So how you feel is your perception of the world. Okay, so let me explain what I mean by that. And I've explained this 1,000 times to different people and audiences and stuff. But to think about it this way. If you are watching horror movies or scary movies and you're feeling scared, then what is it like to be in a big, empty, dark house? Right? It's not the nicest, is it? We get a little scared out there. Because your brain and your focus and your filter system and your everything is focused on what? Yes, fear. So then we start reacting, walking around that house. We might hear noises, right? We might see shadows. We might see all of these things. I ain't saying ghosts aren't real, because they probably are. But what I'm saying is that your brain can trick you. Does that make sense? There's an old saying. It's a story, a parable. But it's really, really brilliant, and it's used in neuro-linguistic programming to explain the filter system in the brain. But I explain it a little bit differently. We're talking about a fight or flight response as well, right? And chemistry and stuff. But if you're walking through a forest and then you see something in front of you on the floor, and you come up to it and it's dark out there, and you just see this thing that looks like a snake, right? It looks like a snake, and then I'm sure you saw it move, and you sprint off, you run. You're in total flight mode, right? And then you came back the next day and you realized it was just a stick. Well, in that moment, right, what was it in front of you? Yeah, it was a snake, right? Was it a snake? No. Did you act like it was a snake? Yep. Did you react like it was a snake? Yep. Did you believe it was a snake? Yep. Did you get scared and run away? Yep. Right, but was it a snake? No. It was a stick, right? So when you start to understand this, it's so powerful, because whatever you believe it is, it's right? It's the old classic saying. I think it was Edison, right? But if you believe that the world is a struggle, then you're right. If you believe that you can't achieve something because of the external factors that are going on in the world right now, then you're right. Do you know what I mean? I'm about to step into I think it's my 8th country in the past 18 months where so many people haven't even left. They're too scared to. So when you start to understand this, everything begins to change. So how are you thinking about the future right now? How are you thinking about 2021 right now? How are you thinking about those goals or vision that you created for yourself last January that you might or might not have accomplished? What happens when you think about money, success, running teams, having an online presence, earning millions of dollars? What's going through your head? When you have all of these these people in the public eye looking at you and making judgments. Does this hold you back? What decisions are you making about taking action now? What decisions are you making about yourself? Where's your focus go? Does it go on to mistakes? Does it go on to escaping? Does it go on to thriving? Does it go on to focusing on this year being amazing? Does it go on to all the things you have to accomplish, all the discipline you have to have, all the things you have to do differently, right? To have a different life. What's the emotion driving this? Does this make sense? I hope so. Because this is the key factor to changing states, but also designing peak states and alter versions of us. And so when we start to understand this, then we also have to understand, to experience a different life that we dream about, we have to become a very different version of us. It's the absolute truth. We have to become the ultimate version of us. We have to strip away the layers of noise and trauma and patterns of behaviors that don't serve us anymore. We have to allow ourselves to become very special. Special inside of our world, so we can be special outside of it. And when you understand that the brain filters reality, it literally only lets a tiny, tiny amount of experience that you see out into the world. The rest of it is being basically contained in your unconscious mind. And there's so many more things happening outside of your experience that you can't see. You can't feel it. You can't even experience is the word. You didn't even know it exists. Why? because you have not trained your brain and nervous system to get used to it, right? Think about this. If you were around billionaires, right, from the day that you were born, how would you be thinking about money? Right, how would you be thinking about business? Creating longevity, legacy. How would you be thinking about options and business deals and what's possible in the world if the only thing that you'd experienced in your life was growing up around billionaires? All your friends were billionaires, your mom and dad were billionaires, everything was about billionaires. How would you be experiencing the world? Does this make sense, right? Well, what happened if you grew up in a cave? Doesn't matter where the cave is, right? It's cave people hanging out in cave land. Whatever, right? How would you be experiencing the world? What would you be believing is possible? What would you think was safety, right? You get the idea? What would your communication be like? Do you know what I mean? There's stories out there in the press years ago that they found kids that have grown up in like forests and the parents were wolves and bears and stuff. Not literally, they'd just been found. They got lost, right? And the animals took them in. And they're like 10 and stuff. And they can't communicate. They don't understand anything. It's because whatever we put around us, we become like. It's that simple. So you got to ask that question right now. Are you escaping and looking for shiny objects? Are you watching all the wrong things, listening to all the wrong things, doing all the wrong things, feeling demotivated, letting the oppression of the world take over, like the sadness, the illness? Are you doing these things? Because if you are, how's that working out for you? Do you know what I mean? But what would happen if we could live a different life? Do you know those moments in your life that you've maybe started a new career? And there was a day before that first day, that you were not doing it. And then suddenly you were in it, and then suddenly you are this, and this is what you do, and then your whole world is that. And then you might do it for 5 years. And then to start something new, well, it's a bit daunting, isn't it? But that company went down, so you have to get a new job, so you have to do something new, so you're forced to do it. Then what? Then you get used to this new job. Does this make sense? Well, why would you think that's different from you starting a new life? Why would you think that's different from 2022 being brand new, fresh, right? Think about this. Everybody wants to talk about becoming a millionaire, a multi-millionaire, a decamillionaire. I think it's a centimillionaire, 100 million, I think so. Might be wrong. But when you think of that, then what comes up? Right? What comes up? To become a multimillionaire, you have to understand that everything in your life has to advance. It has to grow. It has to be different. You know what I mean? You have to think differently, be differently, believe differently. The wiring in your brain has to be different. The movies, the images, right? The feelings, what are they connected to? Right? Are you thinking about the future business and the launch that you're about to do, and inside of you there's fear and doubt? Then what pattern are you building towards that outcome? Right? And the more you understand how reality is created through filters in our brain and the unconscious software, then you've got to ask the question, is there any wonder that before you didn't get the results that you wanted? Were you thinking and acting as you know you should be? Right, probably not, right? Probably not. That's why it didn't happen. So to step into 2022, we have to wipe the slate clean. To step into 2022, if you want all of these things that you truly know you're capable of, that you've got to understand that, guess what? Everything has to be different. How you wake up, the way you wake up, the clarity, the knowing, the decision making, the team building, the attention to discipline with branding, the attention to discipline of state changing for yourself for different sections and different things that you're doing throughout the day. Being able to interrupt old patterns and break them and change them, right? Being able to step into flow states. Being able to feel like you're downloading information, which it takes you 20 minutes and it takes other people 2 days. These are the qualities that we need to build in you. Does this make sense? So to do something different in 2022, you have to be different. To do something different in 2022, you have to think differently. You have to change your environment. You have to change your network. You have to build and pump your brain like it is a bodybuilding muscle, man, right? That's what you have to do. There is no other choice. Olympic gold medalist doesn't just become an Olympic gold medalist by accident. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't just happen. There's all of this experience that goes into being able to perform on that moment. Do you get that? Do you understand that? So what would happen if that moment was 2022? Are you ready? Are you ready to receive? Only you know that. So what I want you to do is write down a couple of different things. I want you to write down and design your perfect day. And that might sound stupid and cheesy, and it kind of is, until you understand that what you're designing is your visual interpretation of the world that you want to live in. Then we install that in your brain, right? We drop you into trance, we change your thinking. That's it. And so when you start to understand that, then life becomes beautiful. If you followed your intuition 100% and listened to your gut feelings and yourself, then life will become beautiful. If you know what you're supposed to do, but everyone around you doesn't believe it, who cares? As long as you're not coming through ego, you're coming from your heart, you're pulled to do it. There's a purpose, there's a reason. You're becoming obsessed with it, and you don't understand why, then guess what? Lean into that. Go after that. Go and get that. Do you know what I mean? Whatever you've got to do to achieve your dreams, as long as it's ethical, then go and achieve it. This is your life. It's your dreams. It's your vision. And the truth is, like I was talking about before with the new generation coming through, what it's showing is that the world's changed forever. Forever. So you might as well go and play in a new world with all of the new realities. Sound good? Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, crew, that's the end of episode 337. I didn't do any recordings, didn't do anything like that, but I went on a bit of a rant for you, and I really, really hoped it helped. I really hope that it got through. I really hope that you listen to this again and go and share it with 10 other people who need to hear this today. Because the truth is, the world only gets better one person at a time. So it's your responsibility to become the best version of you because of the impact you can have on the people, places, and things around you. And when you realize how important you truly, truly are, then every day becomes a mission for you to win. Every day becomes a mission to become the best version of you. Every day becomes your best day. So go out there. It's time to play. 2022 is your game. And guess what? It's time to live to your full potential. It's going to be a beautiful year. So give it everything you've got. Until next time, much, much love. Go to the show notes. Make sure that you're heading and connecting with me and Ryan in the radicalformula.com. Make sure that you're signing up for the VIP list in the 8figurethinker.com. Make sure that you are going over, if you're a trader of crypto, currency, options, whatever it is, make sure that you're going over to what? Yes, thegeniustrader.club. You head over to all of those places now. Get signed up. Let's do this. Let's make this year your best year ever. Until the next time, again, much, much love. You have an amazing week, an amazing year. And, oh yeah, one more thing. Why don't you smile for me?
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode of the Mindset by Design podcast with your host and NLP expert, Andy Murphy. We'll catch you next time.